And welcome back to another BobBlast. Hi, I'm Bob Burridge, and this one is all about brushes. This is a brush, this is not a brush. Let me show you the difference. So basically, I'm asked this question an awful lot. What size brush did you use? It's almost like asking a photographer, what kind of camera did you use? We know it's not the camera. We know it's not the brush. It's the creativity and the adventuresome of the artist. And we look forward to the artist to show us the new things with brushes. Let me just show you briefly the brushes that I use in my studio. Here they are. It looks like a whole lot of them. There really aren't that many brushes. You'll notice there's no little brush like this. This is not a brush. These are brushes, all right? And you'll notice that some of them have been augmented with longer handles. I like to put on longer handles. It keeps me looser. And then I also like to have different sizes of brushes, of course. You know, these are acrylic brushes. So they're a little stiffer, all right? They're a blends or a synthetic blend. The natural hair brushes are mostly for watercolors. But these, because they're gentler and softer, these actually have a little bit of, gumph in them. They're really strong and hard, and they take a beating. I put wider handles on all of my pieces. They don't have to be glorious like that. Just a little piece of stick and tape, and that's all it needs to be. These are pretty fancy ones here because I'm holding them all day long. If I had to hold on to this tiny little handle all day long, my hand would certainly crimp up. All right. So I paint as if I mean it. This is just too much detail for me, and it slows me down. All right, but you can see the array of different brushes. These are mops. These are called mops. They're beautiful for watercolors and this for the flowing, just so you know the difference from these. These are more of a hog hair brush, stiff, maybe even horsehair. Some are blends. Look at this blend. This is fantastic, right? For big wide washes. So everyone says, what should I need? It's these tiny little brushes to do details. No, you don't need to do any details with tiny little brushes. You can do them with a wide brush. Well, in my studio, let me show you how I get details with a wide brush. So now let me show you what I can do with a wide brush. I think they're really versatile, much better than those skinny little brushes with two hairs on them. What are you gonna do with that? I like to paint like I mean it, as I said. So when I hear this lesson or this question about what size brush did you use, it has nothing to do with the size of the brush. Besides, there's a little fact that if this was a number 10, it would not be a number 10 in another brand name. The numbers don't correlate back and forth to each other. What's up with that? They're trying to make it as confusing as possible. Get into an art store, a real art store, a supply store, and stand in front of all those display of brushes and pick them out that way. You're not gonna pick out a brush by reading a book. Get in there, physically pick it up and move it around, and if it has good juju, that's your brush. It's that simple, folks. One brush is not the miracle brush to do everything, all right? There's no perfect brush. There's a perfect you, though, to pick the right brush to play with. Here's a wide one. This is 2 inches wide. What can you do with a 2-inch wide brush? I'm gonna wet my brush a little bit, dip it into some acrylic paint. These are really good brushes for acrylic because there's a little bit of stiffness in there, and you can actually have more control. So what's beautiful about these brushes, look at that beautiful, and it holds a lot of paint, which means you don't have to going back and forth to the palette all the time. This is a blend, which means it holds a lot of liquid, a lot of paint, and because it has some synthetic hairs in there, it's also stiffer. So with that same brush, you see, one brush can do it all. So you don't get a skinny brush just for skinny things. So there's so much more you can do, obviously, with a wider brush. Don't be afraid of them. There's no such thing as a mistake when you're playing with a brush. There you go. But what about some of these other fancy brushes? This one here is Oh, it's like a Chinese bristle. I also call them French sign painters brushes. The big and round and glarpy. I'm wetting this one too. Really glurpy. You want to loosen up? There's a good way of loosening up. Look at this. It's just beautiful. And it holds a lot of pigment. That's what you want the brush to do. Not to make this perfect little details. That is, if that's your style. But I'm here to paint with a little more gusto. And you see, the bigger the brush, the better the painting. And you get to it quicker as opposed to a tiny little brush. Then there are these beautiful Isabey. Cheap Joe has these too. These are called Petite Gris. They're little mops. They're like little squirrel tails. Really, that's what they are. Squirrel tails, believe it. How they catch those little suckers, I'll never know. But look, it's so thin, but it holds a lot of pigment. Look at this. Watercolorists know this brush really well. It's one of their favorites. Look at that. And that's the thing, it holds a lot of pigment. The less expensive brushes, and they are out there, will not hold as much pigment as this and have the versatility of this, all right? So those are the three basic brushes that I like to paint with, and everything else is just extra brushes. More coffee cans to put more brushes in. You don't need to display all your brushes. I know you bought a lot of brushes. They're part of our tools. Then you figure out which one's the best. So stick with those that are the best. Let me just show you one more little thing. So why do I extend my brushes? Well, it keeps me looser, by the way, and gets me out of the chair, and I get to paint at arm's length. It's not my idea. I saw a great photograph, and you have too, of Henri Matisse in bed, not feeling very well, with a 10-foot stick, painting on the walls like this from his bed. I said, what a great way to loosen up. So I ran outside and got all my tree branches and stuck them on the end of my brushes and start painting like that. There's no way I'm going to get into detail painting at arm's length. And besides, when you're painting, I can see the whole painting. As opposed to sitting up here and painting like this, I can see the whole painting. And I can work on two paintings at the same time. Crazy, but I like to do that anyway, just to make it a little bit more funner in the studio, okay? So now, what we're going to be doing is showing you how to put the handles on and how to make them a little bit heavier, fatter for my hands. You see, I can hold on to that fat handle all day long. Here's a skinny one. I had to add a twig to it, put some tape on it, and it's good enough for me. They don't have to be so fancy. I leave a little bit of a stick at the end of the stick out on the end so I can turn it upside down and draw and scrape and do things like that. So I always leave something there, otherwise it's big, flat, blunt of a line on that. So how I do this is I just take some black tape and maybe some paper towels. We'll do it to this one here. Just to anything, foam, anything to fatten it up. Black tape, black electrician's tape, because it won't unravel when it's wet. All the other tapes you're using will unravel. But here you can see I just keep building it up, building it up. Doesn't look pretty, but boy, it's a lot more comfortable in my hand to hold on an all-day painting gig, right? So that's why I have fat handles. Again, I keep them straight as possible. I have some crooked ones too, but try and keep the line of the stem, the handle, in the same line as the stem and the handle, all in one line. A lot easier, all righty? So those are the little techniques that I like to use in my studio to loosen up, and it's a lot more fun than sitting there going, boy, this sure is fun. You get up, if you can, and paint at arm's length and bigger brushes. Whatever brush you have in your hand, put it down and get the next one bigger. You'll thank me later. Hey, thanks for watching this BobBlast, and I can't wait to see you on the next BobBlast, all about tools of the trade. But wait, There's more. You thought I was finished. I'm never finished. Cleaning your brushes. Clean your brushes really well. They will last a lot longer. You can go to the art store and get a real good brush cleaner called Masters brush cleaner. It's been around for a long time. It works great. But what I have discovered is this product, Murphy's Oil Soap, is great for cleaning your hands, your clothing, and certainly your brushes, especially if you forgot to clean your brush and it's rock hard. Don't throw it away. This is important, folks, including the oil painters. If your brush gets rock hard, you didn't clean it, soak it for 2 days in Murphy's Oil Soap. It'll be better than brand new. You'll thank me later again. All right. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you on the next BobBlast.